Welcome back to the Empire Sports of Mind podcast. The Chiefs win the Super Bowl. The NFL season is over, but with the NFL season over, the MLB season is just beginning. Yankees pitchers and catchers report, the Knicks trade deadline, All-Star break. We'll talk about what's going on recently with the Knicks. We'll talk about the Rangers, the Winter Classic game, or what is the Stadium Series game tomorrow. And we'll hop in on the trend of our top 10 athletes in New York City. Why don't we start with the Super Bowl, John? Let's see what you think.
Yeah, Super Bowl, good, a great game. It started out as like kind of like a uninspiring, bland type of game. Not a lot of offense, a lot of punts, but it ended up being a really great game, kind of like a classic. First Super Bowl I think to ever go to overtime. Saw the first game with the new overtime rules in the playoffs. But I had the Chiefs winning originally. And when they were down 10-3 at half, it just gave me more confidence in that pick because they played so horrible in that first half. Couldn't get anything going on offense. Pressure was getting to Mahomes every snap. It seemed like he went outside in the pocket. The 49ers scored that touchdown to go up 10-0. But once that Chiefs, orchestrated that drive, late in the half to get the field goal, I felt confident they were going to win. Even when San Francisco, they had a chance to run out the clock and get a late field goal to win it. Didn't end up happening. Chiefs ended up getting the ball back. Almost scored a touchdown there before overtime to win it. But Matthew, we'll go over the overtime choice by the San Francisco 49ers not to elect to receive it was disgraceful. I mean, the players weren't aware of the new overtime rules. That's on coaching. That's on just I don't know who it's on exactly, but mainly coaching and the players. I think it's on them too. They have to know the rules, the new overtime, especially an important rule like that. But yeah, really bad. I mean, Chiefs repeat, right? First repeat champion since I think the Patriots in 2004, 2005. So, it's really hard to repeat. Mahomes he's getting up there in the GOAT status, right? So, yeah, Chiefs, they're a dynasty now, and this is not going to be their last Super Bowl. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, on the overtime, I think you're right. Not knowing the overtime rules falls on the coaching, but in terms of receiving it, I'm not sure it's such an easy call because I think if you both teams score touchdowns or both teams kick a field goal to get that possession, that third possession becomes next score wins is important. I agree with what other people said too, though, that you're basically when you score a touchdown or when you score a field goal, Kansas City has to score. You're giving Mahomes 4 downs to work with instead of 3.
Yeah.
It's a totally different. That makes a huge difference. As it is, the average NFL quarterback is really needs 3, but you put Mahomes is great with 3, and you give him an extra 1. The best quarterback in the league. Obviously, it's going to be a problem. But you're right. I thought it was good. I thought it was a great game. Honestly, even the first half, I know it was low scoring. I know people want to see scoring, but to me, it was an interesting game. I like seeing the fumbles. I like seeing good defense, and I thought all of that was represented in the game, and even in the first half, or even into second half, I thought the coaching was pretty solid. I think there weren't a lot of absolutely boneheaded, head scratching things. My one comment was you have the best running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey. Give him the rock more, especially in the Super Bowl. But then you end up looking at the box score, and he had 22 rushes. I know a couple of those came in overtime as well. But then it becomes your legs kind of you become worn down if you give him 30, 35 rushes. So
Yeah.
I thought the coaching was good. I thought the execution, besides the 2 fumbles and the Mahomes interception, was much better than what we see week to week from the Jets and Giants. Like that was something that was very noticeable to me. And it was overall a great game. Congrats to the Chiefs. I was rooting for the 49ers, but you have to appreciate that. You have to appreciate good football, and you have to appreciate winning football, especially when it matters in the second half and overtime where the Chiefs really stepped it up.
Yeah. And I'll say this right now. I don't think the San Francisco 49ers are ever going to win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. I think that this game, and look, he was close, right? He was down in the fourth quarter up, right? And he was close to winning a Super Bowl. But I think you still need that elite quarterback to bring you over the edge there. I really think that Brock Purdy, look, he played a solid game, but Matthew couldn't score in the red zone. That's what separates good quarterbacks from elite quarterbacks. I mean, and Brock Purdy had an elite year. He was in the MVP conversation. Still don't think he's elite. I think that he has. Look, I think if you put Jared Goff in that system, he's great, as great as Brock Purdy. If you put guys like Geno Smith in that system, he's probably just as good. If somebody, look, you have to give some credit where credit's due. But Brock Purdy, they make it so easy for him. I don't think that he's that elite quarterback that you gets you over the top to ultimately win the Super Bowl. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a very interesting decision what happens in San Francisco because I think that since actually I think they do get an extra. I don't know what his contract situation is, but I think a contract is up soon for him since they drafted him. Maybe because they drafted him, it's a year less or something. Someone told, I don't know. I saw something like that, but
Well,
I don't know what they're gonna do.
I think it's a 4-year deal either way, but there's also
Yeah,
like
4 years.
performance on the fourth year for a seventh round pick. There's like performance incentives. So there's no fifth year option, obviously, for like he's not a first round pick, he's a seventh round pick. But after next year, then the question becomes extending him. I think then it becomes more of a discussion. I think next year you'll
Yeah.
definitely see. I think I said this on the recent podcast too. You'll definitely see Brock Purdy will be the quarterback next year. Had a good year. And as long as those weapons are still around him, which they will be, except with the exception of Ayuk, who I think is he a trade candidate or
I mean,
I don't think he's a free agent. I think he's a trade
I
candidate.
I think that I mean, I saw a post, I think maybe his wife posted on Instagram that he was upset. And this always happens, right? I mean, look, they
Mhm.
lost the game. It's very emotional. You just lost the Super Bowl. I understand the frustration there, but sometimes you just have to, keep it in house and don't let the world know that you're frustrated. I think that's a bad look, but on the player. But Ayuk is a great player. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to have to. I mean, they're already paying Debo Samuel a lot of money. They have to pay. They're paying Christian McCaffrey a lot of money.
Yep.
Nick Bosa, I think they just signed. So I don't think they're going to be able to afford all these guys, all these offensive
Trent
weapons. Ayuk
Williams.
is probably Trent Williams. You're paying a lot, so they're paying a lot of money to these guys. And Brock Purdy, they're going to eventually pay, right? So if your decision is to keep Brock Purdy, you're going to have to, suffer a loss there. And maybe it's Ayuk that's the loss, and I think that would be a big loss for them because having Ayuk gives you, takes the attention away from Debo. I think like if you didn't have Ayuk, then everyone's just going to pay attention to Debo. I think the offense is going to suffer. You still have McCaffrey in the back that could catch a pass in the backfield, but I think again, Ayuk would be a big loss. I think it would be a huge
Mhm.
loss, and I think that if it's a trade candidate, both teams in New York should look to trade for him because I really love him as a wide receiver. He's great.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of guys are getting paid on this 49ers team. That's why having Purdy and still obviously filling up that salary cap is a big deal. Kittle, who was quite frankly who's invisible in this game, 2 catches for 4 yards,
Yeah,
no impact whatsoever. But I mean, there are other guys too. That defense, Fred Warner, best linebacker in the league, probably. Some really good corners. I think on their defense they have 5 or 6 All Pros. So those guys got to get paid or are getting paid as well. And I agree with you. Having somebody like Ayuk, takes the attention off everyone. I mean, it just evenly distributes. So you can't just totally focus. The game plan can't be totally focused on McCaffrey when you have Ayuk, Samuel, and Kittle. So taking even one of those pieces away ends up being important. And having all three of those guys on the field opens up opportunities also for, you're allotting your best assets to Ayuk, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle. It opens up opportunities for somebody like Jawan Jennings. And that's what we saw in the Super Bowl. He had a really good game after, whatever he is, the third, fourth, fifth receiver,
yeah,
ended up having a really good game. So those are also the things that, having somebody like Ayuk or having multiple,
mhm.
playmakers on that offense helps. So no, that's all important. I think the Chiefs, too. I agree with you. You said this earlier. It's not going to be their last time in the Super Bowl or potentially winning one, but especially on defense, a couple free agents, notably Chris Jones, and what a great L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best cornerbacks in the league this year.
Yeah,
That could be a big loss for them because you can only tag one guy. Maybe you tag one of the two, but the other one of those two is gonna command top of the market money. So both teams, you make it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, you have a lot of great players on the team, and the challenge every year for something like this is how do you keep the most important players?
yeah, you're right. You talk about Chris Jones. I don't know if you saw that clip at the parade saying he's not going anywhere, but that doesn't hold any merit. I think he was, a few drinks deep, maybe even more. So that that maybe hurts him in negotiations a little bit. I think his agent subtweeted. He's like, Chris, we got to get Chris. Someone's got to watch him. What they keep serving him. But that was a little funny. But yeah, you're right. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
guarantee that he stays. I think if someone's going to blow him away in the free open market, he could definitely leave. Right? Money talks. Right? These players always say, "Oh, I'm going to stay. I want a three-peat," but if you want to get that big time contract, you want to be the highest paid, potentially highest paid defensive tackle of all time, you're gonna have to take that money. Sometimes you take that money, right? But if he actually cares about winning, and maybe he does stay with the Chiefs. Maybe he surprises all of us and takes lower money to stay with the
Mhm.
Chiefs, which is understandable too, to go for the repeat in history in that way. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, look, Chris Jones would be a big loss for the Chiefs. You saw it the first game they played this season. I think it was against who was it against? The Lions. That was a big loss. They had no pressure that game. Jared
Mhm.
Goff had no pressure that game. So taking Chris Jones out, I think they also were missing one of their defensive tackles in the Super Bowl that tore his Achilles maybe in the previous game. So I mean, look, if they lose him and the other guy to injury, it's a big loss for that defensive front for the Chiefs. But I think the Chiefs secondary, Matthew, is really friggin' good. And I think
Mhm.
they have a lot of those guys on rookie deals. They're not
Yeah.
gonna have to pay those guys anytime soon. So I mean that's deep. This is the best defense Mahomes has had in his career. So I mean it's just the beginning. And look, I think the Chiefs are probably gonna look to add at the wide receiver position this offseason. So it's only gonna get better for them. The NFL is just it's still the Chiefs are the team to beat, and it's gonna be that way until further proven otherwise. I just think they're the team to beat next year as well. I mean the
Mhm.
Ravens, Lamar Jackson always comes up short in the playoffs. Justin Herbert, I mean, look, he has Harbaugh now, but he hasn't proven to win anything in the playoffs. So, like, you have all these guys that are potentially, superstar quarterbacks, but they haven't proven anything. Mahomes is, clearing away the best quarterback in the league. He's a winner,
Yeah, by
and
far.
I think three, and he has a potential. I mean, look, people always talk about is he going to catch Brady at 7? I think he has a chance, right? 28 years old at 3. It's hard, right? It's hard enough to win one Super Bowl in this league, and Mahomes makes it look very easy. I think he has a chance to get there, but it's still early.
Mhm. Ultimately, this is a New York podcast, and it's specifically a Jets podcast. So we would be foolish not to mention that the role that McCole Hardman played in the Super
Oh,
Bowl, which no, obviously the game-winning touchdown to win the Super Bowl, but also in the first half, really the only offense for the Chiefs the first half, that 52-yard bomb. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess this is more of a question for you. It doesn't impact me, but what do you think of Hardman's contributions in the Super Bowl?
I don't. I don't really take it that seriously. He was statistically one of the worst wide receivers all year, analytically based. And look, you remember that game where he had 2 catches, 2 fumbles. So I don't really take much stock into it. I'm happy for him, right? Did you see that clip on it was on Hard Knocks about Oz the Mentalist? And
Yep,
Nicole Harmon came up there and made the prediction
49.
that the Jets were going to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And he was the guy who caught the game winning touchdown. That's crazy. That was crazy. So
Mhm,
Matthew, if Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt, maybe the script said the Jets 49ers, right? Who knows?
mhm. Script,
But
yep.
I honestly, Matthew, if look, we talk about the Jets a lot, and I know that this is not the time to bring them up since we're talking about the Super Bowl. They haven't been in one in 50, almost 60 years. But the Jets are, I think, could they potentially be the team to bring down the Chiefs next year? If they get Aaron Rodgers healthy back, if they get a great wide receiver, they had that great defense. I think that they're top 3 teams to beat the Chiefs next year, the AFC, to bring them down. I really believe so. I don't know. I might be crazy, but I think they have a chance.
Um, I'm not sure. I think that the Chiefs' defense was so
It's
good
good.
in these games, and the Jets' offense was just so bad. And maybe hopefully it gets better with Rodgers, but a lot of those weapons are they have weapons. Obviously, the Jets. We've talked about it, but I'm not sure. I think we'll see how obviously the offseason plays out. We have to fix that offensive
Yeah,
line.
it's gonna be fun.
We've talked about the offseason needs. Start soon with free agency and the draft all this
Mhm.
spring. But let's see how this team. Let's see what this team actually looks like following the offseason before. The Chiefs could very well retain. No, Chris Jones, he wants to stay. They could easily be running it back with the same team. I don't think the Jets stand a
Oh
chance
yeah, I
after
know.
this.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, NFL is so good at keeping everyone engaged in the offseason. You have the Super Bowl ending, and then 1 month later is free agency, and then 1 month later is NFL draft, and then you have the training camp reporting like 2 months, and
Mhm.
then they're so good at keeping it like just their attention on themselves throughout the whole year, even if the
Yep.
offseason is 7 months long. They're so good at keeping everyone fully engaged with the league. They're just top notch. And that's what do you think
Yeah.
about the halftime performance? I don't think it was that great. Um,
I
I
didn't
mean,
think it
some
was good
parts
at
of it was
all.
okay.
To me, Usher. I'm not like a avid Usher listener, so I knew his three best
Yeah,
songs.
he's more like early to that. Like I feel like his better songs were when we were like very little, so I don't think we really
Yeah,
appreciated his music. He
I
has
only
good
knew
music though.
three of his songs.
Back.
I knew, yeah,
Yeah.
DJ got us falling in love, and
OMG.
oh
Oh
my
my
god,
god. Yeah.
and we didn't even hear DJ got us right. That he didn't play that.
I think he played it. I think what's that guy's? What's that dude's? I remember it turned down for what was a good moment. I think when that guy came
Oh,
out.
that was the best. That was the best moment. Turned
That was
down
a
for
great
what?
part. Great part. Wait, I feel like I'm forgetting that guy's name came out. I feel like that's a crime that I'm
Lil
forgetting.
Jon.
But
Or was it
Yeah, Little John, I think it was. Yeah, he came. That was I think that was my favorite moment. There was some good moments. It wasn't that bad. I think the visual, the performance part itself was pretty solid. Usher is a good performer. I think he's
Yeah,
good
he's a good
dancer. So I
dance.
mean, he
He's
put up a
smooth.
solid
He's smooth.
performance.
Yeah.
I just don't think we appreciate his music as much because it wasn't our time. It was pretty
Yeah.
solid.
Agreed.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So
That does it
yeah,
for the
I mean,
Super
pretty
Bowl.
solid game.
It was a good game, yeah. Let's move on to the Knicks. No, they're 32 and 22. They made some deadline acquisitions. No, Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson started their own podcast. They currently are, let me just count this, a 4-game losing streak, but they've been decimated by injuries. I guess let's start with the acquisition, then we'll kind of work backwards. What do you think of the deadline acquisitions?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it when they made that trade. I think that they were the best. They were the winners of the deadline, right? There wasn't, many too many big name players going off the board. But they got Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic, who I think are great pickups. I love Burks. I loved Burks when he was here. But I think he was just playing the wrong role, right? I mean, the Knicks had him starting at point guard. That's not his role. His role is to come off the bench, hit some big shots late in the game. His jumper game is good. Off ball is good. Bogdanovic, the Knicks needed another great shooter. I think they got one in him. He's shooting 40% from 3-point range. He's pretty solid too off the ball. He has a pretty good mid-range jumper as well, which adds a lot to the team. So I think both of these players coming off the bench is going to be huge for them. I think the Knicks, when they're fully healthy, I don't think there's really anyone. Maybe I don't think there's a team better in the league at how much depth they have. The Knicks, they have so many guys. They're like 3 players deep at every position. If the Knicks are
Mhm.
fully healthy, they are really the team to watch in the East. I know the Celtics are still the team to beat. They're really stacked. I mean, they have the best record by far. But I think if it was one team to potentially bring down the Celtics, I think if the Knicks are fully healthy, they have a chance to.
I think that's totally fair. But no, I like the value of what they did in the deadline. Like, I don't think it's a bad trade. I think trading for
It's good.
Burks, who's a free agent after the year, and Bogdanovich, I think has like a team option for next year, which makes him a tradable contract as well, which is
Hmm.
valuable for just 2 second-round picks, which are virtually worthless. I mean, how many second-round picks really hit? I mean, Brunson was like, okay, one of the first second-round picks of the draft. I just like second-round picks don't mean anything to me.
No,
Fournier wasn't playing anyway. Doesn't matter. He was in the doghouse. Nobody knows why. And then you have Grimes is obviously it's really so to me. You traded Grimes for Bogdanovich and Burks. And I think you add a little bit kind of. I think that's a good trade. I mean,
mhm.
Grimes. He was playing well last year, but it seemed he really took a step back this year. There were some attitude concerns. He didn't want to be here. That he missed a game in the playoffs. I heard people were upset. He could have played through it. I don't know, but I think I like what they did with adding Burks. I think that's like a proven player off the bench. My fear with Burks is if they just throw him right back into the why we drove him out of New York in the first place. They put him at point guard. I
Yeah,
don't think he's good
yeah,
at point guard. I don't think he's like the best shot creator as the primary creator, but I think he's a good facilitator, catch and shoot. A couple seconds left on the shot clock, then he can create a shot. But I really don't want to see him at point guard. I like him at small forward or shooting guard. And Bogdanovich, I like. I think that's a safe acquisition. I think that off the bench, he's not going to average 20 points a game. I don't see him starting over Anunoby or
no,
Randall. I guess that's his secondary position, power forward. So I think you'll see like the stats, the counting stats will take a hit. But as a volume shooter who can actually knock down shots and to some extent close games, I think he'll be valuable. I just don't think it'll be. I don't think you're getting. He was a 20-point player in Detroit, but I don't think you're getting a 20-point player. I think you're getting like a 12, 13-point player.
yeah. And I think that the another piece that was not really like focused on when the Knicks made that move, the OG trade, is Precious Achua is playing phenomenal right now, phenomenal
Yeah,
basketball,
yeah.
way better than we expected. And the thing that's kind of weird is like when everyone comes back, there's not really a spot for him to get that many
Nope.
minutes, especially if you have Mitchell Robinson back. Where is he getting minutes? And I think that the Knicks have to find him some minutes, maybe not late game minutes, but some. He's deserving of it, right? He's playing great basketball. Last game he had like 23 points, 14 rebounds. I feel like he makes everyone better around him. Like he always comes up with some crafty play around the hoop.
Mhm.
Good pay. He's a good passer. So I think he's crafty, but that my thing is like if everyone comes back, I don't think there's a spot for him. And the Knicks, I feel like are probably. I mean, it's gonna be hard to find a spot, but I think that they have to at least try to give him some minutes in the game. I don't want to see him getting 0 minutes when everyone's back.
I feel like that's a lot to ask. I agree with you. Precious Achua really playing well, especially as a rebounder and then like put back scorer. But I think it's a lot to ask for Tom Thibodeau to play 11 guys. I mean,
Yeah.
let me just count that up. We have Robinson, Randall, McBride. I think he's an odd man out. Hartenstein, Hart, DiVincenzo, Burks, Brunson, Bogdanovich, Ananobi, Achua. That's 11.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
11. That's
the
yeah.
most you're going to see is a 9-man rotation. So let's take out McBride, which to me is a little unfortunate because then you're going to see Burks as the backup point guard, which is kind of a role that
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine. Maybe, but I don't think he's like an upgrade over Deuce McBride. I think Burks is just better as a shooting guard. So we'll take McBride at. Now we're down to 10. And then the next guy out is going to be Achua because Randall plays a ton of minutes when he's in anyway. So, Hartenstein and Robinson, they'll interchange. And I think Achua's out. And then you'll see the backup power forward minutes will go to a combination of Bogdanovich and Hart. And
Yeah.
that'll probably be that. So those are
Yeah.
probably the two odd guys out. It's good in the sense it's a good problem to have in the sense that if there's an injury or you need one of those guys to step in, they'll do a good job. But it sucks because Precious Achua. I don't know why I have trouble. I guess it's a tough name.
That's tough name to say a couple times in a
He's
row.
playing 42 minutes a game this month, so he's really
Yeah,
playing a
even
big role.
he's
So it kind of
yeah.
sucks for him.
Yeah. And Matthew, we talk about the Knicks being decimated by injuries. I mean, really decimated. The game against the Magic, they had Jacob Toppin playing 17 minutes, McBride playing 32 minutes. A guy who's probably not going to play any minutes when all these guys come back. Achua played
Right.
43. I mean, Burks 30. So, I mean, they had no chance in this game. When you're missing, how many guys were they missing this game? Randall, OG,
Six.
DiVincenzo, Bogdanovich. They're missing 6 guys. I mean, you can't be competitive in the NBA game missing 6 of your key guys. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not surprised they lost that game. I mean, they were in it in the fourth quarter, but then they went down by like 20 and it was over. So, I mean, but Matthew Brunson is I mean, look, he's unbelievable, right? Every game he keeps getting better and better. He's averaging 30 points since the All-Star break, 33 points, I think it is. Unbelievable. I am really excited to see this team when they're fully healthy, and I really hope they are. I mean, OG, that surgery, it was smart to get because you still have time to heal that up and be fully healthy for the playoffs. Randall, dislocated shoulder, concerns me a little bit, but good thing that happened in
They said they're
January rather than
encouraged by his
March.
progress too.
That's really they just said.
That was I saw like a report a couple days ago that they're encouraged by the progress he's making. So it should be okay.
And I don't want them. They shouldn't rush him back. I mean, you do want him back sooner rather than later, but I wouldn't. I want to make sure he's fully healthy because that's an injury that could occur again. You don't want that happening again right before the playoffs. Then he'll be out for the season. So I'm happy. OG is big loss. I mean, look, I think if you have OG, if you have the fully team, and this team is such a great defensive team, if everyone healthy, OG, talking about playing the Celtics. If you play the Celtics, I think OG Anunoby could really shut down Tatum. Not saying Tatum's not going to get, his 25, 30 points, but he'll neutralize him. And that's huge for the team. The Knicks never had a guy to neutralize a big superstar. So really excited by this team. And this team is so fun to watch, even when, they have their players hurt. Dante DiVincenzo, very impressed with too over the past, 10 games. Yeah. He's played like a really, really solid player since he's been in that starter role. And he'll be in he's earned the starter role now for the rest of the year when everyone comes back. So he'll be starting at the 2 shooting guard.
Yeah, a lot of guys are impressed. I'd say the one guy who's not is Taj Gibson. I think it was fun for however long, of course, the inevitable Taj Gibson back again. But he's not capable of handling, backup, third string, fourth ring, let alone when he started that one game. It was a disaster, quite frankly. I don't know. I get whatever he's a Tibbs guy. He'll be on the coaching staff or whatever when he retires. But there's got to be a better option out there. This guy was not expecting to play this year. That's what I can tell you. He was not training in the offseason. He was he probably is like a family. I can't blame him. I mean, he probably signed on. He was like, okay, I'll be the depth option, but he's not in shape to play whatever it was 25 minutes he played that one game. He's simply not capable of it anymore. So if the absence of especially Hartenstein is going to be, prolonged, and obviously Robinson maybe back in the playoffs, maybe not, who knows? Then you're going to need to, reinvest into just a free agent buyout market, somebody, just another center, because Gibson doesn't cut it, and Sims is okay, but Sims doesn't impress me either. Quite frankly, I think he He has good,
Yeah,
good, intangibles, jump, dunk, like all of that. Good instincts, high field goal percentage, but he just doesn't get like key rebound. He's not at the rebounder that
yeah.
Hartenstein or Robinson is. So I would just invest. I would invest, at least to replace Gibson on the roster.
I mean, you talk about Todd Gibson. Oh my god. I mean, look, Matthew, I play basketball with my friends every Friday, and I don't have any endurance, right? When I'm out there, I need an oxygen mask. I don't have one. I would need one. But Todd Gibson, you talk about oxygen mask. I think he needs a ventilator when he's out there after 5 minutes. I mean, this guy's he has nothing left in the tank. 38 years old. Like, oh man, I don't get it. You see him, I think he
But
like
he's not
was a
like
couple.
45. He should be in better shape than
He's
what he is.
38. That's what I figure. Like 38. Like, okay, maybe not a lot of guys are playing. I mean, LeBron's 39. I mean, that's LeBron James. That's an exception. But like 38, you shouldn't be having to take yourself after the game after 5 minutes.
He
I don't
subs
really think
himself
that's
out, Taj
normal.
Gibson. He thinks he's the coach.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, and look, Matthew, it's probably going to happen again where they sign him to another 10 days, maybe maybe two more
Oh,
times, 3 more times, but I mean, look, you need it, right? Because you have everyone's hurt. Hardenstein, when he got hurt, you had to sign Taj again. There's no one else out there, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, Taj Gibson is just really. I mean, look, he's okay. He had 0 points. So he played 9 minutes against the Magic, had no box score statistics, nothing, no rebounds, no
I think
assists,
there's
no points.
I want to see his game log because I can't remember a game where he's had
Let's see.
more than
I'll
like
look. I'll
1
look.
point.
All right, so he's averaging 1.0 points. He's averaging 1.8 rebounds and 0.6 assists. Not bad.
Okay, this month
Pretty good.
he's played 13 minutes a game, 13.6. That's substantial. That's NBA role minutes. In 5 games, he scored 2 points. Two
Yeah, I
total
mean,
points.
and he's had like
And he's
a
not made a
couple
single
rebounds,
field
4
goal
rebounds.
in the past. He's not made a single field goal in the past. Let me keep scrolling. He's not made a
He's only
single
made it
field
in
goal
one
since
game.
December when he
Wow,
was
he's
with the
actually
team.
playing a lot more games than I realized. Todd Gibson. Yeah, I mean,
He
he's
sneaks
a
he
very
sneaks
bad player.
in there. I don't even know. I can't even explain it. He
Yeah,
sneaks in there.
he's just a minute filler. He's just a minute filler because everyone's hurt. But yeah, he's not. He's pretty terrible, Taj Gibson. I mean, so that's all I had to say about the Knicks.
Yeah.
Knicks. Hopefully, everyone gets back healthy, and it's gonna be an exciting watch.
Yep, agreed. Now let's move on to Yankees pitchers and catchers report. MLB season beginning. It's interesting this year. It feels like the aura around the team, honestly, it feels like it's a little different, but I feel like I say this every year. I feel like the team really wants to win this year for what it's worth. I don't know how much it actually means in the dog days of August or July, when there's injuries and stuff, but as of right now, it feels like they're motivated. All the quotes I hear, I like. I like, the way
I
Stroman
mean,
sounds. I like the way Cole sounds. I like the way Boone sounds and Cashman sound. They're like, oh, the focus is on a World Series. I understand they say this every year, and it's part of the the hype up process. But I'm excited for the season to start. I think when you add
yeah,
one of the best hitters in baseball to your team, that's got to help. And then
yeah. I
you
mean,
improve the bullpen, I would say, or the bullpen. I think the bullpen's going to be really deep this year with all of the waiver wire ads they've made too. A lot of
yeah,
those guys, and they DFA them, nobody picks them up. But just watch one or two of those guys become like really solid bullpen guys. Kind of what happens every year with the Yankees. And then the back end of the lineup is still a concern, but I'm excited and I like what I've seen so far.
yeah. I mean, the backhand line is a concern, but if you get guys like Anthony Volpe, and if he takes even a minor step forward in his offensive ability, that adds a lot. If you have Austin Wells adding a little bit at the bottom of the lineup, that help. If those two guys have solid seasons, the lineup turns from pretty good to very good, almost borderline amazing. If those two guys start to hit at the bottom of the order, so I think this lineup has a lot of potential. Stanton's a huge question mark for me. I think he might be an X factor too. I mean, he might be batting Matthews 6 or 7. I mean, who would have ever imagined that Stanton is going to be that 6th or maybe 7th every day? Probably not every day because he's going to get hurt, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, he's going to be batting 7. So if he could provide like if he's healthy, 30 home runs in the 7th spot, that's a really solid line right there. That's a solid lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew, I don't know what your take is on Judge hitting 2nd or 3rd, and vice versa with Soto either hitting 2nd or 3rd. I don't know what your stance is on that. I always think that I agree with what Judge wants. I think he should be batting 3rd. Soto should be batting 2nd.
Yeah, I think that would. I actually don't care, quite frankly. I think both guys get on base a lot, and both guys will be able to drive each other in. Vice versa. I think the only, the tipping point for me is you just get the better lefty righty balance by putting, assuming DJ is going to lead off righty, Soto lefty, Judge righty, and then I don't know who's fourth, Rizzo, Stanton, and then
Yeah.
maybe Stanton's fifth. But then
Verdugo, you have
you get a
to.
real nice, and then you could put sixth Verdugo, seventh Glaber. I understand that's late for Glaber Torres, probably one of the best second basemen in the league offensively. But
Yeah.
then you really get a nice lefty righty balance. And Glaber
It's a
Torres
really good
7
lineup. Yeah.
righty, Austin Wells 8 lefty, Anthony Volpe
Volpe
9
9.
righty.
Yeah.
The whole lineup is left right. Great balance. To me, that's like the deciding factor. So I would put Judge third if he wants to bat third too. Like until it's not working,
Give it
I would
to
be
him.
quick to make a switch too. Also, if it's not working,
Yeah.
then just switch.
Oh yeah.
But, I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, and people always say like Soto should be batting third because they go to his career statistics when he's batting second, and it's not so great. That's just him being on a bad team, trying to do too much. I mean, I don't take much stock into that. I agree with what you're saying. See how it works. See how it works for the first month. And then evaluate there and maybe make a switch. It's not really that big of a deal, to be honest with you. Both of these guys are going to get on base. Both of these guys are going to, hit 35, 40 home runs and be just key contributors to the team. I think the leadoff discussion is a more, obviously, I think it holds, more for a conversation because LeMahieu is probably slotted in right now. Didn't have a great year last year. Not really. That's like a guy in the lineup where I'm not really looking forward to watching. I don't think he's going to have a great year. I think he's really slowing down age-wise, contact-wise. He's just not, he's not putting the ball in the gap anymore like he used to. He's not vintage DJ LeMahieu like in 2019, what he was doing, putting the ball over the field. He's not that guy anymore. I think he's better off-suited late in the order, or maybe he can, provide some contact and bring a guy home in the bottom of the order. But top of the order, I like Verdugo or Glaber Torres in the leadoff spot. But Glaber Torres, I'm a little more hesitant because I do like a little speed at the leadoff position, and Verdugo gives you a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just fact checking something right now, but I keep seeing on my timeline on Twitter or X or whatever that the Yankees are going to capitalize. DJ LeMahieu is going to capitalize a strong finish to the year. And I'm thinking, I was thinking in my head, did he really have that great of a finish? Like I just remember him being not off last year, just overall. And in September, he had a 724 OPS, below average.
Yeah,
August,
what?
724 OPS. And in August, he had a 672 OPS. That's not a strong finish to the year. I mean, aggregate
Yeah, I don't know what they're
combined,
talking about.
that's 690 OPS. That's the Yankees propaganda machine. I mean, he did not finish the year. I think he had a good like 5-game stretch, if I remember correctly. I agree with you. Slowing down. I don't like how he's slotted as the everyday third baseman. I think his defense is defensively, I think it's fine. But I think he's a much better defender at second than he is at third because he's a weak arm. So he's 35 years old. He's not like 32. He's 35. He doesn't make contact like he used to. He doesn't drive the ball like you mentioned like he used to. He's really a different player. I think he's going to lead off. I don't think he's going to be particularly good. I think maybe he'll be serviceable for a month or two before kind of being 35 and playing 162 game season kind of gets to him. And I agree with you. The alternatives, Torres doesn't really have speed, not traditional leadoff. And I think I feel more comfortable with him towards like being like a real kind of force towards the end of the lineup. And I kind of like that as an idea. My ideal scenario, it's not even Verdugo. I think if Volpe could take a step forward, which is totally within the realm of possibility, because he is actually somebody who last year had month stretches where he was very good. And then he had month stretches where he was very bad. So to me, it's not a question of if he can do it. It's if he can do it consistently, because I know he can do it. I know he had some really good months last year. So he has a good eye. He has the power to do it. He has the speed to do it. And I think that he was a little overwhelmed. They asked a lot of him last year to be leadoff for whatever he was, 50 games. That felt like a lot, and I don't think that was particularly fair to him. But I believe that he can be a serviceable leadoff guy this year.
Yeah, I mean, you have him as leadoff, and if he could, walk more, get on base, then you have him distracting the pitchers because of how good of a runner he is, and then you have him distracting the pitchers while Judge and Soto get up. That's going to be huge for the team. You're right. I think Volpe is the ideal guy to have in the leadoff position. I don't think you could do it because of how much he struggled. And you want him to be more comfortable as the the season starts. You want him to get more confidence late in the role. You don't want to put too much pressure on him early on, but as the season unfolds, hopefully have him in the leadoff spot by the All-Star break. I think that is a great point that you just made. You really want him there because of the speed aspect of his game and the power. I mean, that'd be great to have a guy that steals 30 bases, 40 bases a year and hits 25 home runs. It's a home run leadoff hitter right there. That's what you dream of, having a leadoff hitter like that. So you're right. I think Volpe is the ideal guy to have there, but you can't do it just yet.
Yeah, totally agreed. I do want to correct myself. I was reading off ESPN stats. DJ LeMahieu didn't have a good September. That was right. 711 OPS. In August, he had a very good month. I was looking at the first game in August. He had a 692 or whatever I said.
Okay.
He did have an 897 OPS in August. He did have a good month in August.
Okay.
So I want to correct myself on that. But it wasn't like he extended that into September necessarily.
Yeah.
Good month in August, what it's worth. No, it was preceded by a terrible month in July and a terrible month in June, 536 in June, and then a not so good month in December. So that's as inconsistent as it gets. But just want to correct myself there. I think, this team also, I think it's deeper than it was last year. I'm looking at kind of the stats from last year and during this correction, and I'm looking at guys like, IKF being a top 5, like at back getter, Bader, Cabrera, Higashioka, Bowers, Calhoun, McKinney, Donaldson, Florial. These guys got a lot of at bats. I understand some of it was injuries, and you're going to see injuries with the Yankees this year. But we're looking, of those guys of the bench right now, it looks like Oswaldo Cabrera might not even make the team. So I think the Yankees in that aspect are a little deeper this year, which is something that is gonna benefit them, because that guy last year, even the fifth starter last year to open the year was Johnny Brito, and they didn't have depth from the get-go. And as when the injuries happened, then the depth became worse and worse and worse. I think they've improved that this year. Kind of tying back again through like that waiver wire kind of strategy, getting some borderline quadruple A MLB players that can at least kind of fill in case of injuries.
Yeah, you bring up the starting rotation. I think it's still a question. We mentioned it before, but a couple notes from spring training, what's going on the first few days. Stroman looks look, maybe we've got this guy all wrong. He's done some, bad things. Social media, I think, is an evil for him. I don't think that's very good. I'm happy that he's stepping away from it for the season. I think that'd be a terrible distraction. Maybe the Yankees told him to do so and he's agreed to. But I think he's really, I think it's authentic. You see him in the press conferences. He's always wanted to be a Yankee. Grew up in New York. His father was a police, I believe, chief in Suffolk County, Long Island. So that's a great story there. And it seems like he's really, just embracing being a New York Yankee. And you love to see players like that. You love to see players wanting to play for the Yankees. It's rare nowadays, right? Yamamoto went to the Dodgers. The Yankees don't have that same aura as they did. So it's refreshing to see a player, come into this role and really embrace it. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him so far. Rodon is touching 97 miles an hour, averaging in the mid 90s in his bullpen session, something that last year he was averaging high 80s, low 90s. So I think that's encouraging. Well, look, he's an X factor for this team. If Carlos Rodon is not a good pitcher and he has another bad year, the team is going nowhere. And Nestor Cortez, they said that it took him a while for him to get his shoulder built up. Now he's fine, but that's also a concern too, right? So there's a lot of concerns in the starting rotation. But if Rodon and Stroman can have solid years and Cortez can stay healthy, the rotation's deep, right? But they're not a lot of depth there.
I agree. I would extend the injury kind of thing to all three of them. All three of them have extensive, lengthy injury history. That's an X factor. I think if all three of them are out there the whole season, I think that means you've got good years from them. I think Rodon's the bar, compared to last year is so low. He has to do better than last year. He is going to do better than last year. So that's going to be a bonus, compared to last year anyway. Anyway you get it, I guess. Even if he doesn't pitch a single inning this year, it's a bonus compared to last year because he was so bad when he was 7.5 ERA last year.
He was not healthy.
Stroman, he's saying, I agree. He's saying all the right things in the press conference. I'll pump the brakes a little bit on the hype. I think he's excited first couple days. Oh, I'm never going to use social media, this, that. Sorry to friends and family. I'll see you in Thanksgiving or something. He said,
yeah, that was funny.
that's like, okay, it's day one. Like, let's see. Like, my thought again is let's see when it gets to the dog days of July and you have like a
Yeah,
shoulder
you're right.
injury, then we'll see.
Let's
But
see after you have a bad start, Yankee Stadium giving up 5 runs. Let's see how he responds. You're right. See how he
no,
responds to that.
exactly,
So
exactly. And then Cortez, you don't really know. I mean, I read that a lot of people said it's a positive he overcame the shoulder, but that took him so long. He's been
it's
working
weird.
since like November and December to really rehab that shoulder, and he's been throwing since December. How is he going to pitch a full season then? If this guy as it is can't pitch a full season on like a regular
Yeah,
schedule,
man.
and now he's had to work twice as hard, which is not any fault of his. I think like good on him trying to really get over the shoulder issue, like not his fault, but you're increasing his workload basically to really
Yeah.
get back and be healthy, and then you're going to expect him to also throw a full season. So I feel like that's a lot to ask of him. And then the depth, who's the sixth starter? Luke Weaver.
Yeah,
That's a big
it's
question
not
mark
good.
as it
It's
is.
not good.
But
Yeah.
and then you have obviously Cole, Cy Young, and then you have Schmidt as the fifth starter. And I think Schmidt this year as the fifth starter, I think he's probably going to move up. But I think that's a really good fifth starter to have. I would just
Yeah,
like
I
to
like
throw
it.
in. I think he'll be solid.
Hopefully, right? So we'll keep giving you guys updates from spring training. Just started. I don't even think the position players have reported. I think they report this
Nope.
week. First
Yeah, it
game
was
is probably next
optional
Saturday.
one this week.
Yeah, so exciting times for baseball. Move on now to the Rangers, who are on a sneaky 5-game winning streak. Still haven't, gotten all the way back to what they were in the beginning of the season, but you see some improvements. But big injury news: Blake Wheeler's out for the year. Pretty bad knee injury there. So I mean, he wasn't playing great, right? He had 4 goals, but I mean, it does put more of an emphasis of improving at the trade deadline because now you're down a winger. So I think that the Rangers are going to have to do a lot at the deadline.
Yeah, all the best to Blake Wheeler. I will say, like, I'm not sure how big of an impact this has on the team, quite frankly. He was
Yeah,
a bit of a traffic cone out there, to be honest. I was not that impressed with him out there from day one. I mean, I went to home opening night. I was like, this guy's skates, they just don't really work in harmony. He can't move. It was a problem. He couldn't know his one plus, like his big plus he was really good at in his prime was passing, and he was missing passes, icing the puck, and never had a great shot. So for I don't think it's a great. I don't think it's you never want to see somebody go down like that, and he could potentially be valuable. And he's also 6'7" or 6'6", and he's
yeah,
not physical at all. So like he's a bit
Mhm.
of a waste of space in that aspect too. If he could tap into that physicality a little bit, realizing I'm not the player I once was, whatever I am, 37, 38 years old, but now I'm going to try to be like a gritty fourth line forward who checks because I'm 6'7". He wasn't doing really that either. So I don't think it's like a huge loss. I think it's good in the sense that it emphasizes the need for a right winger, because the right wing, what's the right wing depth? It's Kako, and that's it. And then you have all these natural left wingers
Yeah,
who are playing right wing.
yeah,
Lafreniere's playing right wing this year. Cooley, I guess, could play right wing. Offman can play right wing if they want to call him up. I have no clue if they will. VC could play right wing, but you need a legitimate right winger, and
yeah.
that's going to be now. I think it went from who knows what they do at the trade deadline. They might add somebody to now. I think
I think they
it's
will.
they will. And
Yeah,
again,
and
mentioned this last episode, would look at Tarasenko again. I think he's looking for a trade. So
Matthew, I would look at him, and I would not be opposed to a reunion with Buchnevich. I think that he would be pretty
good
solid
point.
because he already has some chemistry with the guys that are on the team, right? He's played with a lot of the players, so it will be, I think, a seamless fit if he comes back. So I think you look at him. A couple other names I saw, like a guy from the Flyers. Look, you're gonna have to add. It's not gonna be all flashy moves, but I think you have to make one like pretty solid, pretty big move at the deadline. Frank Vetrano, I don't really want him. He's not really having a great year. A lot of players, they have a lot of fans have a soft spot in their heart for him, and I do like Frank. He's a hardworking player, but I don't think he's the right fit for this team. But maybe if they could get him for cheap, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I don't think he should be the top target. I think Buchnevich is a guy that I think I would love to get him back. I really would, and he's having a solid season this season. Again, since he's left the Rangers, he's played very good. So I wouldn't be opposed to getting him back.
Yeah, and then I think this key, the Rangers are quietly on a 6-game winning streak. I can't even believe it
Yeah, it's
watching some of the
crazy.
games. But one of the key differences is over the 6-game winning streak, they've given up 11 goals. So the goaltending's been much better. I
Yeah,
think 4 of those games, if I'm not mistaken, have been quick. He's been playing well again. Not that he wasn't playing. I mean, as a backup all year, he's been phenomenal. I'd say maybe the best
Very
backup
good.
in the league, but this year so far. But you also had the shutout from Igor. He didn't really play that great against the Blackhawks, to be honest. But he had really played well against the Flames in that shutout. That was
Yeah.
a really tight, close game. That was a good win, I would say, because that was a game where it was kind of had a playoff atmosphere. There were fights in the game against the
Yeah,
Western
it was
Conference
good.
team like the Flames. Outstanding goaltending, which you kind of have to factor in the playoffs. Like you might get robbed a couple times. And the Rangers, I thought they did play well that game. So that to me, they're on a 6-game win streak. I don't think they've played particularly well in all 6 of these games. They didn't play well against the Canadians to me, despite scoring 7 goals. The Blackhawks. But to me, the Flames game is the takeaway from here.
Yeah, but I mean, Flames game is very good because you're facing a hot Flames team who
Mm-hmm.
probably, I think, just won maybe 5 of the last 6 games, something like that. But that was a big game. You're right. It was like a playoff-like game. And Matthew, who scores in a playoff-like game? Will Cooley. I think he's going to be absolutely critical in these playoffs. I think he's a playoff player, right? He's a guy that's physical, leading the rookie. They always say on the broadcast, he leads all the
Always,
rookies.
yeah.
Probably by like 90 hits. So probably a big measure because all the rookies are very small. They're not really, too physical as he is. But I think he's going to be a crucial player in these playoffs. I like Will Cooley. I really like his game. That line was very good this game. I mean, what was it? Kako, Cooley, and Brodzinski, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That line played very well. They always kept sustained pressure in the offensive zone. Like what I'm seeing from them. But Kako, I think he has 3 goals in the last 6 games, something like that, with 4 points. So better from what we've been seeing, but still 9 points in 33 games, not really going to cut it. And he's a potential trade target if you're going to make a big acquisition. I think
with the Wheeler injury, I think he's valuable to the
could
team.
Be. Yeah. You're right. Maybe with the Wheeler injury now that they're not going to definitely. I think before the Wheeler injury, it was very likely he was going to get traded. Now it goes to 50-50. I think it's still a chance that he's on the block. But maybe with Wheeler, we'll see. I will see.
I agree with you. Cooley 100%. I mean, I would give that line has been the best line over the past 3 games with the Wheeler injury. And with even just they've won these 6 games, but it just feels like maybe a shakeup of the lines wouldn't really necessarily hurt.
Yes,
and I would that line was playing like 10 minutes a game. Cooley, Kako. Let me look at these past. Yeah, just over 10 minutes a game. Cooley, Kako, Brodzinski, and I understand they're probably going to be split up with the Wheeler injury. But if you keep them together, I would play them 14, 15 minutes a game. They've been
I think they're going to
been the best line, and I agree with you. Cooley, scored against the Flames, scored in the recent game against the Canadians, and I think quietly has 5 points in his last 6 games. So kind of putting together nice. But I don't think scoring is his main thing. But I agree with you. In the playoffs, that's somebody to watch. Kind of what he did against the Canadians. I think that's somebody in a playoff game who can put in a rebound or tip a shot into the net. Not necessarily snipe one in, but those are the playoff goals that you need sometimes, and those are the only ones you're going to get sometimes. I think he could be I agree, he could be a really valuable player.
And finally, we saw Mika Zibanejad score a goal. Chris Kreider got a hat trick in that game, so I think that was big for that line to get some confidence, hopefully built upon after that game. And I think that if Mika Zibanejad is not scoring goals for this team, you're not going to win anything. He needs to start being more aggressive with the shot. He's always pass happy, pass first. I mean, he had a great pass to Kreider to get that hat trick goal. Slipping and past his defender. That was an awesome pass. But other than that, he should be shooting a lot more. He should be going to the slot. He always goes towards the side and does some stupid shot that has no chance of going in. He has to be more aggressive, go in the slot and take shots because this shot is deadly. I don't think he realizes it. I think it's like the same situation as Panarin last year. He was so pass first. This year he took a more of an aggressive approach and has a lot of goals. Right. I think Mika's the same player Panarin was last year. Very pass happy, not utilizing his weapon, which is his wrist shot and slap shot. They're both very good, and he has to use it more.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to our last segment, our top 10 athletes in New York City. We're both going to make separate lists. We've already come up with them. We're going to share them. I think we'll both start with honorable mentions first. I'll just list all of them off, and then I'll list all of mine off.
Yeah, right. So honorable mentions, I have Francisco Lindor of the Mets. He didn't crack the list. Dexter Lawrence of the Giants. Quinn Williams of the Jets. Both great defensive linemen. They didn't crack the list. And Mikal Bridges from the Nets, who's having a solid year. And Breece Hall. I think he does not crack the list yet, but he's if he has another great year next year, maybe potentially will. And then Igor Shesterkin for me and Mika Zibanejad from the Rangers. Igor, if we made this list 2 years ago, he's probably top five.
Mhm.
But after two pretty mediocre years, he's not in there anymore. And Mika Zibanejad after not having a great year this year and then last year, solid, but doesn't crack my list.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Mine are Igor. Agreed. Very easy to have him on the list. No, especially after winning the Vezina. I would also say the same for Sorokin. I think they're both really good goalies, but Sorokin's kind of had a tough year too. I place
Mhm.
them in a similar bracket in overall talent.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges, who I really just missed out on All Star this year for the Nets, but he's had a really spectacular year, filling in kind of as a number one scorer, which maybe isn't his his role that's best suited for him, but he's done a nice job there. Pete Alonso heading into free agency, really good hitter. I mean, I would have him on my list. I just don't think he's a good fielder. Saquon Barkley, great running back, obviously for the Giants, heading into free agency. Same as you, Quinn William, Dexter Lawrence. To me, very similar players as well. Neither cracked the top 10. And then lastly, maybe this one's a bit of a surprise, like for to give honorable mentions to, but OG Ananobi. I think when you look at in terms of value, and I don't know what this list is: top 10 athletes in New York, top 10 players, top 10 most valuable players. But if it's most valuable players, I think it's Ananobi might make the top 10. He definitely gets honorable mention because to have, like you mentioned, somebody who plays the defense, shuts down the other team's best scorer is very valuable. So I just want to give him a
Yeah.
shout out too. But let's move into the real list.
I like it. I'll do 10, 8, 10, 9, and 8, three players
Mhm.
at a time here. Number 10, I have Pete Alonso of the New York Mets. I think that for me, this spot was either between him or Lindor. Lindor, had a solid year last year, but he's not a top 10 player in New York looking at all these players. And I think Alonso didn't have a great year average wise last year, still putting up, 40 home runs a year, still that dangerous guy in that Mets lineup. So I think he has to crack this top 10 list. Number 9, I have Juan Soto, New York Yankees acquisition this offseason. I think that in this spot, look, he can, if he has a great year this year, he could be top 3. But I think that since he hasn't played a game yet, I'm not going to have him in my top 5. So I have 2 players, Soto and then Aaron Rodgers at number 8. I think, look, he played not even 1 quarter for the Jets, but he's just the talk of the town. He owns his town in football talk wise. So I think that just the simple fact of the mystery of how the Jets are going to be next year with him, and just the fact the Hall of Fame quarterback on the New York Jets, they haven't had one in so long. He cracks my list at number 8.
Mhm.
So I have Alonso, Soto, and Rogers, 10, 9, and 8.
Yep, my 10 is Fox. I think, Norris winner could very well be it again this year. I think overall, we look at especially what he does defensively in comparison to like an Eric Carlson type who doesn't really do anything on defense. Fox plays for the best offensive defenseman in the league. Fox plays some good defense as well. So the best at his position, best at defense to me deserves some recognition. So I'll put him at 10.
Mhm.
9, Julius Randle, all-star. I think he makes it over, like the second basketball player I have on this list over Bridges, just because he's an all-star. Bridges isn't. Randle, I mean, we're seeing it now. He's out right now, and the team misses him. I mean, maybe you get frustrated with him while he's actually on the court. He takes those bad shots. He takes but the fact of the matter is everyone else kind of gets a break. Everyone else gets a break when Randall's on the court because Randall takes 20 shots, and those 20 shots that he takes each game are shots where he's backing down defenders. So he takes like 24 seconds to get that shot off. So everyone else gets a break. It's really valuable. And then I have at 8, I do have Francisco Lindor. Unlike you, I think that there's a reason why he got that. It was just 1 million more than Garrett Cole, $315 million. I think that defensively, he's a really good defensive shortstop. Not to mention that he's a really solid hitter as well, switch hitter. I think he provides a lot of value. He hasn't gotten hurt with the Mets, which is very important, very valuable, and I think that has to be accounted for. I mean, we've lost John for a second here, but I think that I'll comment on his list a little bit. I think that Soto at 9, I just think is outrageous. For me, it's top 10 players. I don't care if they've played in New York, haven't played in New York. Soto might be the best hitter in the MLB. So having him at 9, I think is the ninth best player in New York when he might be the best player in all of baseball is a very low ranking. And then Rogers, I think Rogers is a little different. I think Rogers is somebody who, would crack this top 10 list. Obviously, back-to-back MVPs within the past 5 years, but hasn't played in New York. He's getting older. How does he return from this Achilles injury? And this is an Achilles reconstruction surgery that was very unusual, not really done often. Is he going to come back and be a top 10 player in New York? I think there's so much more uncertainty there than there is with Juan Soto. I know Juan Soto is going to come in free agency, walk year. He's going to have a great year. Rogers coming back, 40 years old. No, Achilles. Who knows? Who knows? So for me, that's a big question mark. I'll move to my 7-6-5. Just to recap, I had Adam Fox at 10, Julius Randle at 9, and 8, Francisco Lindor. So my 7 is going to be Garrett Wilson. I think he's inherently more valuable than somebody like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you might have for 1 year, might be very good, but Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver that you can build around for the next 10 years and be a star wide receiver. So I would even say that Breece Hall, running back, doesn't have the longevity that Garrett Wilson will probably have, but it's more than Aaron Rodgers. You might get 5 good years of Breece Hall compared to 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. So I'd rather have Breece Hall than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, for 1 year, sure, but I think that Garrett Wilson is a great wide receiver. I think he's very underrated. When you think about the fact that he's had Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle, we could list all these quarterbacks, and he's had 1,000 yards in each of the last 2 seasons. You can't underrate that. John is back now. I'm going through my 7-6-5, and then John will go through his 7-6-5. So I just listed Garrett Wilson at 7. At 6, I have another Jet, Sauce Gardner. Again, I think that having a shutdown cornerback, kind of like OG Anunoby, I think they're similar in that type of sense, where to have that shutdown cornerback, to have that guy that on defense is so valuable. And I think it's more valuable than having even you can build around Sauce Gardner. Talk about the longevity of a running back like Breece Hall, or a longevity of Aaron Rodgers, which might just be 1 or 2 years. Sauce Gardner is somebody you can build around for the next decade. So to me, he's so valuable, and same with Garrett Wilson. So I think he cracks my top 10. And he's also a great player. It's, second year in a row, all pro honors. You can't understate that. And then I have 5. I have Artemi Panarin in the heart race this year. I think he's 7th in the NHL in points, but the value he's provided to the Rangers in particular, not a lot of other Rangers have more than a point per game. And Panarin he's been the best Ranger far and away. So I think he cracks this top list.
All right, number 7 for me, Saquon Barkley, New York Giants. I think that Saquon's value is just so vital for the Giants. He is the cornerstone of that offense, and if he's on the Giants next year, they're going to miss him a whole lot, because he is the force that drives this offense. Saquon Barkley is highly deserving of number 7. Almost left him off the list, but once I remembered, I forgot listing Giants players. He had to be on my top 10 because of just how much value he provides to his team. Number 6, Julius Randle. You just mentioned him, all-star this year. Matthew, I was very low on him to start the season because of his past playoff performances, but he's proven to be a force this year. Tough to, especially with guys like, if he has a supporting cast, he's a really vital part. He can't be the number 1 on this team, but as a number 2, number 3 type of player, he is such a valuable piece of your team. Well deserving of an all-star, Julius Randle. Number 5, Artemi Panarin. I don't think the Rangers are in the playoff spot if they don't have Artemi Panarin on their team, because of how much how much scoring they have outside of him is not really good. He basically has like half of the team's points this year. So without him, they're literally a terrible team. So Artemi Panarin, if he is the definition of an MVP, probably not going to win Hart because of all the performances going on in the league, but he is really vital for his team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, it makes sense. I think I'll just close it out 4-3-2-1. My 4 is Juan Soto. You had him at 9. I think that he's arguably the best hitter in baseball. I have Judge ahead of him, but I think he's arguably the best hitter in baseball. So he has to crack this list of best athletes in New York. So number 4, I think that even the list, New York has some really talented athletes at 3-2-1. So even putting Soto at 4 doesn't feel right, because it feels like in any other market he would be number 1. But I agree with you to some extent. I don't agree with putting him 9th because he hasn't played in New York. But I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt over my 3-2-1 because he hasn't played in New York. But I think it's all very close. And speaking of, I have three Yankees in the top four. My third is Garrett Cole. I think Cy Young winner. I rank him over Soto just because of that, giving him the benefit of the doubt. But Garrett Cole's quickly become very underrated in the MLB as well. Has to be noticed as well. Gives you 200 innings every year plus, no matter what. Gives you, I mean, I would say 3 ERA or less, but he had that one season 2 years ago. He had a 3.5 ERA, and he still gave you whatever it was, 200 innings. But he has 3.5 or less every year, top five AL Cy Young every year, and he's everyone says he's is a student of the game, studies the game. And for me, the longevity is going to be there for Garrett Cole just because of that. He's going to reinvent himself. I don't even think it's like, oh, hopefully Garrett Cole can reinvent himself. He is, because he's that type. He's so invested in the game. My two is Jalen Brunson. Look at what he's done in New York this year. Best basketball player in New York, all-star. Even in the past, I think he kind of got off to like a slow start by Brunson standards at this point. First month was like 24, averaged 24 a game. Since then, he's basically averaging 30. So, and if he averaged 30 over a full season, he'd be a top 5 player and the MVP candidate, especially in the New York market. So, two Brunson, number one Judge, 62 home runs. Still bringing that up unmatched. I think him and Soto are very close, and they're 1-4 on the list. But Judge, the captain, New York, the impact he's had on the city, I think that makes him more valuable in New York over somebody like Soto. So Judge, number one.
All right, my 4-1, very similar to Matthew. At number 4, I have Garrett Cole for all the same reasons Matthew just listed. In New York, he was heavily criticized in his first couple of years. Didn't have a great postseason 2020. 2021, I believe, is the year that which he struggled. Maybe 2022. And people always say, oh, we're paying him $36 million and he's not providing. Well, the simple fact of him pitching 200 plus innings a year, I think that's worth the $36 million, even if he has, a 3.5 ERA. But if he performs in the postseason, all that contract is well deserved. And he has since the first year he's been in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is probably my favorite athlete in New York. Ever since he's come here, he has a great attitude, doesn't give you any problems, fun player to watch. He's an all-pro in his first 2 years in the NFL as a cornerback. I feel like that just goes so unnoticed. All-pro in the first 2 years. That is an unbelievable start to your career. Can you start any better? You really can't, right? So, you talk about him and Darrelle Revis. He's on track to be better than Darrelle Revis, as good as Revis was. So, Sauce Gardner, this guy has to be a Jet for life. If the Jets let him go, that is an absolute embarrassment. The Jets, they haven't had many players that they drafted that have been this good to start their career, and you have to lock them up, and the time is gonna come soon where his contract's gonna be up, and you have to give him all that he wants. He deserves all of it because he's been just an awesome player, and in a league where players are so toxic, asking out. Sauce Gardner could definitely be frustrated with how the defense is playing and how bad the offense is playing, but he has said nothing. He's always keeps it professional. I think he's just a role model for a New York athlete. That's why I have him top 3 on my list. Number 2, Jalen Brunson. I've watched Jalen Brunson since I was a Villanova fan. 2018, those 2 championships. He was on the first championship team, didn't play much, but 2018 he was the MVP of that team. Just awesome watching him grow into the player that he is today as a Knick. Just unbelievable. Just a great story, right? Just an awesome story. His dad is the coach of him on the Knicks. That's very rare. It's just so awesome to see a father-son connection there, and just taking the city by storm. Jalen Brunson. If he wins a championship, he's going to be a legend. I really hope he does, because I love Jalen Brunson as a guy and a player. And number 1, Aaron Judge, captain of the greatest franchise in all North American sports. So that just speaks for itself. And his performance. He had last year was 37 home runs, had that big injury, but if he didn't get injured by that concrete wall in LA, probably would have had another 50 home run season. So Aaron Judge he has to be number 1 on the list. But if Jalen Brunson whoever wins the championship is going to be 2-1 on that list there. But I really hope Judge wins the championship, because he definitely deserves it. He's also a role model guy who doesn't, make any problems for the team, always keeps it professional, like a guy like Derek Jeter was. And that's my list right there. So I had a lot of fun doing this, Matthew.
Yeah, this is a good list. We'll post it all on Instagram so you can give us your thoughts. What's your list? Which list is better? All of that good stuff. I think that concludes it for the episode. John, any other thoughts?
No, I had a lot of fun here. Hopefully we have hopefully we can continue talking about the Knicks and the Rangers into June, Matthew. Well, let's make it 1994 all over again here.
Yep.
Be a lot
But
of
the
fun.
law of the garden. So
Yeah, the law of the garden. Hopefully that has to break at it sometime soon. Has to break.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.